Multimedia is one of the most important pillars of multiple media franchises. People didn't like your game? Well, how about you turn it into a movie? Some comics? A movie? Despite how good multimedia can be, it has one glaring issue. Sometimes that piece of media is very clearly meant to be consumed in the way that it was originally made. This makes every attempt of adaptation incredibly hard and time-consuming, as you have to understand the media very well in order to transform it without letting any of its core values get lost in translation. Yes, I like the Sonic movies, but what if a series was envisioned from the ground up with multimedia in mind, and that's part of its core appeal? It should make this process significantly easier, right? If I wanted to create a surefire way to make people click off a video, the phrase "let's talk about Mighty No.9" would definitely be one of my go-tos. In case you don't remember, since it's been nearly 10 years! In August 31st, 2013, the Kickstarter for Mighty No.9 would be made by the father of Megaman after leaving Capcom. This game was meant to carry the torch of Megaman since bro was on life support at that point, and still is, frankly. Hey, so I'm recording this correction while I'm sick. I edited this bit before the literal game I was making fun of got announced, which is cool. I like Megaman, but I feel like every video I make is like tailor-made to get new information while I'm editing it. It happened with No More Heroes 2. I swore I could make a video about the JFK assassination that would get new info while I'm editing it. And for a moment, it seemed like it was gonna do just that, as it generated what would be close to $4 million. It was looking up for the spiritual successor, and it seemed like nothing would be taking it down. But then some delays happened, extra calls for funding, more delays, and biggest third thing I'll talk about later, botched release, botched Kickstarter rewards, NFTs, and I'll remember it as a joke at best and not at worst. Since this story used to be so popular, there are various videos from other channels out there that can explain it better than I can. Besides, that isn't the main topic of today. But Mighty No.9's failure is an integral part to this story. You see, many people see Mighty No.9 as an isolated incident. The game flopped and that's it, right? Well, not quite. Mighty No.9 was envisioned by Inafune as a media giant, with various projects in the works at the same time. I want to make a video about Mighty No.9 lost media, so I won't show all my cards yet, but think of any medium and the likelihood that Mighty No.9 was meant to infect it at some point is significantly higher than you'd expect it to be. However, after the game flopped, a lot of these plans fell through and were cancelled. Even other games. And we finally get to part of what this video is about. Trust me, we're getting there. After Keiji Inafune did the original Mighty No.9 Kickstarter, and after he asked for additional funding for voice acting, and after he asked for even more funding for DLC, before the game came out, he opened another Kickstarter campaign. This game is the second piece to our story. This game was called Red Ash: The Indelible Legend. What does indelible mean? That is insanely funny. Red Ash was envisioned as a Megaman Legend spiritual successor because of course it was. You could give this man enough time and he'd come up with a Megaman Soccer spiritual successor. This was mainly done because of the cancellation of Megaman Legends 3, which, as I was writing this, I found out Inafune tried to pick up its development after it was canned, even though he had already left Capcom, but they apparently refused. So that's interesting. Anyway, as you might expect after you squeeze your fans dry of all their money with 3 separate campaigns, this campaign didn't go over too well and didn't meet its goal. Not naturally, at least. Apparently, Chinese company Fuse Entertainment ended up funding the essential part of the campaign. Wait, scratch that. I think I'm missing something here. Okay, my bad. Defunct Chinese company Fuse Entertainment. Yes, the company that agreed to fund this game went bankrupt and was absorbed into its parent company because Red Ash's story wasn't funny enough. After this, the game just kinda faded into obscurity and never reached its proposed July 2017 release date. This is a screenshot I took while editing, by the way. It's still like this. It still states July 2017. So what's so interesting about this game? Why are you talking to me about it if it met its goal and just never came out? Well, because despite it being important, it's not the main topic of today. Look, just bear with me. We're almost there, for real this time. All this time, I've been talking about this campaign as if it's, well, one campaign, but that's a little disingenuous. There were technically 2 campaigns running at the same time for the same product. A reminder, this was from Mighty No.9 release, after it was delayed once, after it had 3 separate calls for funding, yet somehow before we got a public demo. Saying that Inafune was tone deaf would be a generational understatement. Anyway, this second Kickstarter was for an anime based on the game. Wait, what? Yeah, unlike Mighty No.9, which wanted to be a game first and then started signing contracts for other mediums, Red Ash from the very beginning was envisioned to be multimedia. This is really strange, but I have seen it happen before, so it's not entirely unheard of. However, this is the only time I've seen it happen while both products are running separate funding campaigns. It's also important to note that these were supposed to be different takes on the same idea with the same characters. They never truly depended on each other. This kind of makes the title a lie, but the anime short that shared the same idea as a game that never came out, but never really needed it as it was technically its own independent product, didn't really roll off the tongue nicely. Anyway, if the multiple other calls for funding for Mighty No.9 only stumbled across the finish line, and the Red Ash video game, the main campaign, had to up its social credits to get funded, the anime then probably didn't even make half of the money it was asking for, right? It was funded. No Chinese company or publisher, nope, it just made bank. Now, how does something like this even happen? Well, let's start out by the fact that Magic Cicada, alright, I forgot to say that's the anime's name, actually told you what the fuck it was trying to do. Studio 4C, the producers, understood exactly how making a campaign for an unproven project was. They took extra measures to make sure no stone was left unturned. You knew how long the animation would be, how long the stretch goals would take it, you saw storyboards, world development, models, it even gave you a budget distribution and explained there was a campaign running parallel to Indelible Legends campaign and how these relate to each other. This was their very first Kickstarter, by the way. The Indelible Legend Kickstarter had some of these, but the plot synopsis was so long that you forgot that this was a Kickstarter for a video game until you read what kind of game is Red Ash, and had a rewards table that was somehow more confusing than the original Sonic Origins Edition chart, because instead of having price rows and reward columns, it was reward rows and price columns. I could flip it and it becomes infinitely more readable. Not to mention the Kickstarter video is nearly 9 minutes long and shows a grand total of fuck all gameplay, which is suspicious because it released a pre-alpha of the game quickly afterwards, which had they reused the Mighty No.9 models, a game that didn't even have a public demo yet, despite the model of the main character being in the pre-alpha, but you had to unlock him? Gee, thanks for hiding the main fucking character from us, KG. You truly are the father of inbred children. The main point is Magic Cicada's Kickstarter was infinitely better constructed than the Indelible Legends Kickstarter. That was made by the guy that made a campaign so successful that it shook the industry for a bit, but you know, we don't gotta care about that. Once again, all that I said up to this point doesn't really seem to matter since the game was funded and never came out. Hell, some Kickstarter rewards for the original Mighty No.9 campaign barely released. Quick side note, while doing research about Mighty No.9's rewards, I ended up finding out that someone actually paid the 10k it took for the dinner with the Inafune reward and actually had said dinner. Not gonna lie, kinda jealous. Wish I had dinner with the father of scams. Anyway, with all of these, let's say unfulfilling Kickstarter campaigns, you'd be surprised to learn that the damn anime movie actually released. So yes, the side project of the side project of the biggest gaming related Kickstarter at the time somehow managed to deliver arguably more than either of the former projects. Its distribution was a little weird, but I want to talk about some other stuff before that. Mainly its Kickstarter rewards. See, it's hard to track down who currently has some of these. This is mainly for two reasons. Firstly, the population of some of these items is very low, sometimes reaching the single digits. I'll probably die before I even get a picture of the call figure. Second, and most importantly, nobody cared about this. When you see the comments of the original Kickstarter, the very first comment you see is someone who knows that they didn't receive the backer rewards nearly a decade after they were supposed to be sent out. Needless to say, there are probably people who never received the rewards and didn't care, as well as people who received them but have it in some attic as a glorified dust bunny. We have evidence that some were sent out, like the Beck figure, a shirt, and even a watch. Some rewards, by their nature, we really can't know if they were fulfilled, like the Studio 4C tour, since there was only one backer who reached that tier, and if they didn't have a strong online presence, then good luck trying to find out what pizza they ate during the premiere. Which, by the way, the tour didn't even include travel and accommodation costs? Really? I gave you 5k and you can't afford a plane ticket? Anyway, we probably will never see a Red Ash calendar pop up on eBay, but it's interesting to think that these are some of the rarest and possibly most expensive collectibles of all time, and they're stuck in some dad's basement because he pledged a lot of money back when he was younger, but has a family now and doesn't have time for any of that nonsense. I was originally going to talk about how we didn't know if the OC character in the animation reward was actually fulfilled, but turns out we actually do. For this, I need to give some context. The stepping stone for most of my research relating to this OVA is this podcast episode from Super Breakfast Friends Club. The second half of the podcast mainly focuses on their thoughts on the movie, but the first half did a very good job of explaining exactly how strange this animation's development was and its relation to Mighty No.9 and the Indelible Legend. Podcasts aren't really my thing, but I recommend you go listen to this episode after you watch this video, since seeing anyone's thoughts on Magic Cicada, especially in context, is very interesting, and most of this video wouldn't be possible without them. Anyway, how does this relate to the Kickstarter reward? Well, I decided to look into the comments of this video since, despite its low view count, this is the exact type of video to have a comment by Red Ash Fan 123, who knows everything down to the amount of X-Sales KG Inafune did before asking Studio 4C to make an animation based on his fourth scam. And I was right. Deep Weeb was in the comments spouting out some genuinely interesting information about this short. Most importantly, he mentions what allegedly is the OC character in the animation, which is this dude, which is on screen for less than 10 seconds. I don't know what I expected. Imagine paying over 4K to appear in an animation, and the time you appear on screen is less than the time it takes me to finish this sentence. We'll talk more about Deep Weep's comments later, since they also have a fairly good amount of insight that will be useful later in the video. As for that OC, I managed to find the dude's Twitter, and turns out he still has all of his Kickstarter awards for both Red Ash and the Mighty No.9. Apparently his OC figure broke, which is a shame. He was also featured in the highway stage from Mighty No.9, which he paid $2,500 for. He also paid nearly 7K on Indelible Legends. Jesus Christ, this guy's stacked. Okay, so distribution. At some point during the development of this movie, Studio 4C was given a grant from Japan's Agency of Cultural Affairs. This is important because this grant was given as part of the Young Animator training program, which took interns and showed them the ropes about animation and stuff. Its relation to distribution is that the film would be shown off to a reduced audience in Japan's Agency of Cultural Affairs on March 2017, which, to my understanding, did happen. I couldn't find any information on the screening, but it's easy to assume that in the worst case, it maybe had less polished visuals. Anyway, that was the basic part. It becomes infinitely funnier now. Starting by the name of the fucking movie. See, this entire time I've been calling it Red Ash Matches Cicada since, well, that's what it was pitched as. However, it technically has two other names it goes by, or well, went as. Across the Kickstarter page, you see times where it's referred to as Red Ash the Animation. In fact, the full title is Red Ash the Animation Magic Cicada. But good luck finding literally any place that isn't in the Kickstarter page or poster that mentions the animation. But whatever, this is the pitch page. They're allowed to settle on a name later. However, it's the second name that made me want to blow up. See, very early on in 2017, Red Ash Magic Cicada resurfaced after a long time of no news with this poster, which states the title is Red Ash Gear World. Well, right then, the new title is Gear World, right? I mean, they announced it. Pretty embarrassing. I've been talking about this entire time with the wrong title, huh? They even showed off a new logo in that year's Tamago PV. Thankfully, Studio 4C would provide an update of everything going on with Anime Tamago with some promotional art that... Huh. So, did they revert the name? Alright, guess we're back to Magic Cicada? We wouldn't hear much about Magic Cicada until Anime Tamago, where we got more news on... Red Ash Gear World? Did the article write it wrong? Well, I clicked on the link that took you to watch the movie, and yeah, it says Gear World. Fine, we're back to Gear World, I guess. Despite it being released in... Billy, Gear World wasn't released to backers yet, lacking both the digital download and the Blu-ray that was promised. Luckily, both were released and documented for the general public. And here's the Blu-ray. And it is for good measure. In the main menu. And the title drop in the short. What the hell is going on? Was the title changed to Gear World 17 minutes before they finished production? Well, clearly not, since the Anime Tamago version correctly labels it as Gear World. The reality is far simple, if a bit nonsensical. It's actually revealed in that article I showed off earlier, but had I shown that, I wouldn't have been able to make this long-winded shitty joke. For whatever reason, the Anime Tamago version specifically is called Red Ash Gear World, while the final product is called Red Ash Magic Cicada. Oh, I'm sorry, Red Ash the Animation Magic Cicada. While this clears things up significantly for the sake of the video, it made research for this short significantly more complicated since I had to search both Magic Cicada and Gear World and try to make sense of the info that was given to me. The release date specifically was messy since it felt like every site I went to had a different release date for the two regions it apparently dropped in. The worst part is that we have no clue why this even happened. My only guess is that it was a workaround to get the grant. Like, see guys, it's technically a different production. It even has a different poster and title drop. Hey guys, still sick. So I completely forgot to mention there are a few differences between the Anime Tamago version and the final release. Two main ones to be exact. These were pointed out by Deep Weave as well. One is that the Anime Tamago version has these subscriptions for important stuff that appears on screen, like characters and certain elements. This basically adds onto a big complaint a lot of people have with the final cut, being that it was a lot of expedition dumps. This version adds even more, but now you have to read them. Yay! And lastly, technically both versions of the movie are letterboxed, but the final release just has a weird resolution that makes it look letterboxed in my video, while the Anime Tamago version is properly letterboxed. But sometimes items from the background peek out of the letterboxed. This is apparently to give it a 3D feel, but it feels like an error the few times it does happen. I don't know man, this movie's weird. Well anyway, on August 2nd, 2017, the film was officially available for download for a month. Yeah, you only had until the 31st to download for some reason. Why do you have a time limit? You paid for the damn thing. It was later announced that the download period will be extended until September 15th. So nice for the producers to let me download the movie I fucking funded for an additional 2 weeks. So, as I was editing this video, I came to a perplexing realization. The Kickstarter updates that mention the download period mention there being a download page and download period for digital rewards, which may or may not include the movie. You can argue the movie is a digital reward, so it would be here, but there are various other digital rewards this could also be referring to. I decided to look elsewhere to see if there was any info on this, but unsurprisingly, no news outlet even covered this as it flew way under the radar. The final option I had was the Kickstarter comments on the page itself and the post about the download. I saw thoughts on the movie on comments made on July 31st, a day before the post mentioning the download period. These comments also mentioned the email with digital rewards, so this is pretty clear cut, right? Well, probably, but we still don't know if the movie was part of the download page or was just a downloadable file from the email itself. Basically what I'm saying is that I have no fucking clue if the download for the movie was timed or not, but this download period bullshit is still bullshit, so moving on. And finally, the movie was later also released online on YouTube, but Studio 4C took it down at some point for some reason. However, it was re-uploaded later, and after 4 pages of context, we can finally talk about the fucking movie. So what do I think of it? It's fine. Look, I really wish I could get into it more, but it's hard to when you already know what this series amounted to. There has been media composed entirely of one product that holds up pretty well, but they usually weren't built on the promise of more like Red Ash in its entirety was. Both were just pieces to a bigger puzzle. A piece without its puzzle is very hard to enjoy, especially when you're already aware of the bigger puzzle that was withheld from you. Regardless, I still thought the animation in most regards was pretty good. It stars Beck and Tiger, who are hunters in this world. In case you're wondering, they hunt for this thing on the title. Gear World. Beck specifically is considered to be part of the nano race, a race of beings born with nanomachines in their bodies and are somehow oppressed. I mean, I get some powers are too basic like invisibility, but literally the second power we're shown is pyrokinesis. I'm sure you can intimidate at least one dude with that. The hashtag normal pilled people are referred to as pure race, which is so corny but extremely fitting. The pure race forces the nano race to wear these specialty watches that suppress their powers. The other option they have is to remove the nanomachines in their body and join the pure race for $1 octillion. That's not a joke, that's the number displayed here. This is why they hunt magic cicadas, so they can make bank and, in Beck's case, remove his nanomachines. He's also accompanied by Tiger, which, from what I am able to tell, is a pure race. And just team up with Beck and someone who fucking died to help them remove their nanomachines. The corpse is Lucy, a part of Beck's team, which we later learned suffered an error and was taken away. This is very depressingly hinted at by Tiger ordering 3 meals instead of 2. This way we learn about how Tiger feels about the loss, the amount of time that has passed since then, and how much of an asshole Beck is. Bro literally hits Tiger with the bro, just get over it. It's been 6 months since it's happened, dude. God damn. And after a bit of convincing, he just goes like, damn, you're right, little bro, might be. Like, bro, stand your ground. Feel free to grieve. Don't let Red Ass guy tell you what to do. He said it himself. You're the adult. Kill him. While all this happens, we get introduced to our fourth? One of them is a corpse. Protagonist in Call, which is being chased by some dudes for reasons we'll be told later. After she tips over the 4K backer, she sneaks into the Red Ass mobile and introduces herself by saying her name and her age for some reason. Does she think this is Omegle? Beck tells her to go keep yourself safe, but she says she has the power of angel ears that can help them find magic cicadas. While Beck stands for him in what he says, Tiger stops him, asking him to give her a chance. Tiger is driving, so Beck can't really say no, and as you think they finally got away to the parallel machine, by the way, they're going to the parallel machine, to hunt for some Red Ash Gear Worlds, Call sticks her head out the car and waves at the dudes. Are you kidding me? Like, bro, what can I say at this point that isn't just ableist? They go to the parallel machine and ooh, title drop. And we cut to a scene where it's implied that Call has been using her angel ears a few times with no dice, implying she's faking her power, which is never confirmed outright, but there's evidence. After Call mentions they finally got a girl on the team, Tiger hits the wham, which prompts Beck to explain how important Lucy was to them and how they lost her to Call. This conversation is where Beck mentions her error. This is another motivation Beck has to get the nanomachines removed, since he doesn't want to suffer an error, which is also emphasized by Call saying that nano races can be unreliable because of it. This is quickly followed by the dude from earlier shooting a missile at them, revealing another dude that reveals that he isn't actually going after Call, but after her plush doll. We never really learn why it's so important, but it simply is, I guess. This prompts a very long and immediately cool chase scene that has the Red Ash gang running away from the dudes who are quite frankly just trying to kill them. Oh my, oh, he said it! He said the thing! Here we learn about Beck's power, which is Red Ash. He himself is also referred to as Red Ash. Before he activates his power, he's shown taking off his watch, which also happens with the two dudes fighting at the beginning, but it's interesting here because this is after Call was using her angel ears in the earlier scene, which she kept her watch on for some reason. Whether this was a continuity error or subtle foreshadowing, I have no idea. The way they animated Beck's power is super cool though. Anyway, dude guy from earlier, which has the power of cyberspace from Sonic Frontiers, shows us Red Ash's weakness, being water. Red Ash is a Discord mod. The chase scene keeps going with Tiger being cool as fuck and Call ultimately helping Beck run away from the dudes by tying their car to a wrench, which he drills at the gears. So that's why it's called Gear World. This is believed to work, but it doesn't. Red Ash gang finds a parallel machine again, and when they try to gun for it, the dude guys shoot 2 missiles, one of which hits the machine and sends the Red Ash crew somewhere else. In this world, they're being chased by dudes dressed as penguins. They spot some Hedgie cicadas while running, which they keep doing until a random penguin calls them over to an alleyway, which Beck decides to trust because, in his words, we're screwed either way. The penguin ends up being nice, and when questioned as to why the penguin helped them, it is revealed that this person was actually Lucy. She strongly implies there's more than one world, which was already implied to begin with. They hug it out, and it ends. Oh, I'm fucking sure it will be. So while I thought the characters, their interactions in the world were very interesting, as well as the animation, it's really the unanswered questions that hold me back from really loving this. Why are magic cicadas so valuable? What do they do? What's stopping nanoracers from just taking off their watches and going apeshit? How did Lucy survive? What happened to her and how did she end up here? Why was the plushie important? Why did dude guy want to keep Red Ash alive? Which, by the way, you did a horrible job at that. These were all questions that were probably supposed to get answers in later episodes or further continuations, but these never happened, which is a shame because I pretty much like everything about the show, because even the issues I had at the beginning, like Beck's abrasiveness, get explained by his resolve and determination to fix what he considers broken about him. Even the 2 goons who were chasing Call the entire time were a blast to watch. Overall, it's a really fun animation with very, very poor reception, simply because it promised way more than it could ever be. I believe they should have, at the very least, removed the to be continued from the end, which already felt pretty tagged on to begin with, given its basic ass font. In a twisted way, it resembles Mighty No.9 more than I'm willing to admit. Both were supposed to be smaller parts of bigger puzzles that were received poorly, at least partially because of that very same reason. But while Mighty No.9 can be a bit hard to recommend, I can recommend you check out Red Ash Magic Cicada. The characters are surprisingly endearing and interesting, the plot is pretty solid for what it is, and the animation is stellar. Ironically, the only reason I would struggle to recommend it is out of fear that you end up liking it, because this is it. This is all Red Ash was and will ever be. Mighty No.9 and its extensions all feel like they're begging to be explored and expanded on, but it's a shame that the dude who makes them is now fucking minting NFTs. I wish someday for this weird gaming icon come back in some way. But unfortunately, despite desires to explore Mighty No.9 and its characters by Inti staff, both series seem to be dead, with Mighty No.9's most recent appearances being a re-release of Mighty Level Burst and the news that they finally cancelled 3DS pre-orders, and the last appearance of Red Ash being, well, Magic Cicada. Maybe someone from Studio 4C or even Inti Creates will find this video and realize that there are still people really interested in these peculiar characters that met their demise way too soon and see the potential hidden deep within the layers of scam and empty promises. Maybe one day. But for now, I'll add another hour of playtime to Mighty No.9 on Steam. Dude, this game fucking sucks.